a couple people logging in, but
Okay.
I just want to welcome everyone to the session. We're really excited with some of the new changes and capabilities that the website will be allow you to do. You'll be able to do a little bit better reporting with multiple hospitals, and as well as getting the HIN benchmark and average, so you can kind of see where everything is going. I know many of you, especially the systems, were very interested in getting a report where you can get data from all your hospitals instead of just one or two. So I think that you'll see a lot of great benefits from here. So I'm going to hand it over to Ken Conley, who actually developed the website and made the changes so that he can explain. Please, is this 500? If you have questions or anything, put questions in the Q&A or chat box so that we can answer them, because there potentially could be a number of questions as you go, because there are some changes to the site that might be a little bit unique to your setting. And then we will get out some basic instructions later this week. Our goal is to have this go live. We're going to upload it probably Thursday evening and make it go live on Friday. So, so you'll be able to see that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ken Conley.
Thank you, Rosalie. Good morning, everyone. And let me show you some of the new features on the site that will go live on Friday. For one thing, we have linked the new data dictionary. You can click on that to download the explanations of the measures to see exactly what each of these measures is about. We also, as Rosalie mentioned, we set it up for more reporting options for your different facilities that you enter data for. Here, I've set up a demo RW Health system, and I'm logged in as a user from this health system. And you can see that we have 4 different facilities that I can enter data for. And so right now I'm looking at the RW Health Broad Street Hospital. One of the new features that we've added is to be able to tell the status of the data that you've entered for this month or for any particular month. The View All button will run a report and show you exactly what is missing as far as the hospital entered data. As you can see that nothing's been entered for this month for this facility. If you scroll down and see that something's missing that you want to enter, you can click right on the domain name, which will take you right to that domain for that month to enter the data. So it's a helpful status report and quick link to enter data. I think I have some older data here to look at. So here from December for RW Health Broad Street, if I click on View All, you can see we're missing a lot of the hospital entered data. We have the Nason data downloaded. It's got some of the hospital entered data, but it's missing quite a bit. So we could go right to sepsis and enter that. And update that. So if I put in 7 for the numerator and 10 for the denominator and save it, and that will show up on the report that I do have entered the data for this numerator and denominator in sepsis. Okay, that's most of the changes that we've done to the data entry screen. I'm going to move to
Ken, before, didn't we combine some of the bundles, the domains?
yes, thank you, Rosalie. We have combined and cut down the number of domains. So instead of the huge long list for PFP domains, there's maybe 10. And so you'll see that we've grouped some of them together.
So now when you enter your, like, for example, your falls data, your falls process data will be also in that same domain. So it'll kind of categorize them together so that it would be a little bit easier for you. And you can see MDRO now has MRSA and C. diff in. So you can, patient days. And Ken, on patient days, since it's the same, were we copying those or?
Those are the days that we pulled down from Nason. And
okay, yeah.
so that's the Nason definition of patient days for those measures.
So that should help you find your domains a little bit easier, and instead of have to scroll down through so many, they are kind of bundled together. And you can see device days is you only have to enter once, only because it doesn't matter for VAC, IVAC, or VAP. They're all, the device days are the same, so you only have to enter it once, and we'll use the same calculation. Okay, I think, thanks, Ken.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then we have already updated the site to give you extended time. It's now 60 minutes before it will time you out. And it'll give you a warning 5 minutes before it expires. So then moving to reporting, there we go. So we're looking at reporting for PFP. Let's choose one, maybe the county rate with graph. If I wanted to look at each participating site within my system, I can select that as a series. And then if I wanted to also compare that to the total for the system, I can pull that as a second series. And then to compare that to the total for all participants in the PFP, I can pull that for a third series. And set the start and end date. And when I view that, then it will actually pull up the graph to chart all of the selected participants. I have here for my facilities, I can go and look at any of the hospitals or the total health system or the total for PFP. I want to show you a little bit on this grid. The report grid here is very flexible. For one thing, we've changed the grid to look a little bit more like the initial report site, where we have the value and then the numerator and denominator. You can change the sort order or the grouping order on this grid. If I wanted to, for example, since we're just looking at quality rate ICU, I don't really need to even focus on that. I can remove it by right-clicking on it and hiding it. And I can sort the facility name here, so that the total's at the top, just by clicking on that arrow. If I don't want to look at any of these data items, for example, if I didn't want to look at the numerator and denominator, I could hide those by right-clicking and selecting hide, and that just pulls the rates up for the 4 facilities versus the system versus total PFP. And I can sort these. For example, if I wanted to sort low to high for the grand total, then I can see who the best performers are at the top and the worst performers at the bottom. So it kind of helps you to prioritize your facilities. So it's a fairly powerful grid with features that you can use right here on the report. And then when you want to pull those down for a local Excel copy, you can export to Excel, PDF, or CSV. Let's see. Any questions on the?
It looks like, Ken, there's a question and one in the chat box too, so we can either control it or you can.
Okay, I don't see the questions here, so.
Okay.
Control.
Okay, there was a question. You may want to mention the difference between NA and 0 for data entry.
Okay. Okay. And we do spell that out on the data entry screen. At the bottom of it, we've indicated that the NA is to indicate your facility does not provide this service. So if you don't have an ICU, you won't need to enter the ICU measures. You'll just need to put an NA in. 0 is only to indicate if you have no cases for the month.
I was trying to move it in case you took control, but I think he's moving it around.
Okay, and the second question goes back to the reports.
Okay.
How do you move, sorry, we just got it covered up. How do you make the denominator and numerator come back once you hide them?
If you right-click in that grid, it'll bring up a menu that says Show Field List. Let me just rerun it real quickly here. I can run it for all ratios. That might be useful to show you your system total and total PFP, all ratios for 2016. Or thereabouts. So when I view that, there's a lot of information. Again, I can hide the numerator and denominator. On this report, which is the report without the graph, I have the numerator and denominator beside the value rather than in rows, which makes it a longer lengthwise report. Okay, so I can hide the numerator and denominator. And I wanted to show this feature, but I'm going to get off topic. What was the question again, Rosalie?
The question is, once you hide the numerator and denominator, how do you get them back?
Okay. So if I right-click out here in this area and tell it to show the field list, then I can drag the numerator and denominator back from the field list, and they'll show up in data. And then I can just hide that field list. I did want to show you the filtering on this. If you run the report with all ratios, which is there's several of them, and you want to filter that down to just a handful of ratios, then this little arrow beside the measure, if you click on that, you can tell it exactly which measures you want to look at. Let's just look at Cowdy and Clabsy. So there I've filtered it down to just the Cowdy and Clabsy measures. You can also do that with the facility and the period. So any of these row or column dimensions you can filter. Okay. And as with the last version, if you want to reduce this down to quarters, you can change the period and click view, and it will rerun it as quarters. There it is. Just took it a minute. So there's the report condensed into quarters. One thing I wanted to note on this report engine, if you modify this area in the ratio grid report, for example, if you change the grouping to where facility comes first and then measure later, it's loading that. And we've already filtered the measures down to Cowdy and Clabsy. Once you've made these changes to this grid and you reset the parameters up here, it will keep those changes. So if I wanted to look at a different date period, just the second and third quarter of 2016, and hit view again, it will keep my setup on the grid and rerun the numbers for the new dates. So we still have it grouped by facility, then measure, with it filtered down to just these 4 measures. And so that can be useful for taking different looks at the data.
Okay, we have one more question, Ken. Can you change the listing of dates on to the most recent first? So originally you had, like currently we have first quarter to fourth quarter. And so it's wondering if you can do the most current quarter, start with the, say, fourth quarter and going backwards.
Also a reverse sorting of the quarters in the grid.
Is that possible?
I think that's what I just did. Yeah. If you click on the sort order by period, then it will reverse. Currently it's descending, so it's got the fourth quarter first, and then the third quarter. If I click it again, then it'll change it to ascending.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And again, you can sort the rows by any of these columns. So if I wanted to sort by the Q4 value, I could sort the facility by the Q4 value in all these columns. Not useful in this report, but that's something that's handy to know, that you can look at worst to best. And it shows that it's actually using the value field as the sort order. And but you can experiment around with this a little bit and see what works for you. If you want to sort the facilities by the best performer or worst performer and so on, that's right here in this grid. Okay. Any more questions?
Currently, I do not see any additional questions.
Okay. All right. I don't know what else to show, Rosalie.
I just want to open it up to see if there's any additional questions. Please put it in either the chat or the Q&A box. I think with most of you, if you're familiar with pivot tables, this is pretty much like the pivot table. The only, kind of like the same structuring, but there's a lot of flexibility so that you could really make changes and make the report that's a little bit more useful to you. And then just click on where it shows baseline and benchmark. Yeah. So those two, you can always add to your graphs and stuff. There's also a button when you're first setting up, if you want them, that you can add them right up front when you're setting them up. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those are the basic things. We will try to get like an instruction sheet ready for you. Like I say, what we'll be doing is uploading this to the website Thursday evening, and then so it should be available late Thursday evening, but to be safe, just make it Friday morning. And then you can modify this and make reports or do data entry. Now, like we have in the past, we will continue to upload any data in the spreadsheets that you submit to us for you. Oh, there's a question. Okay. There is a question about, will this webinar be recorded for future? And yes, we are recording it so that you can come back to this and follow the instructions as we go through it. And we'll also definitely try to have some basic written instructions for you as well. So that's kind of where we are. If you have additional questions, feel free to email either a regional coordinator or myself, and we will get those responses. I know initially it's like anything else. The first time you try it, it's a little nerve-wracking because you don't know exactly what you do. But I think what you'll eventually do is find the format you like the best, and are able to use it very effectively. Please let us know if you have additional questions, and just note that you should see these changes reflected on the website come Friday. Thank you so much, Ken, for presenting, and we'll keep in touch.
My pleasure. And
Thank
I
you.
wanted to make one more point, Rosalie.
Sure.
With this change, we're also going to be using the more familiar names for the facilities. We'll be updating the site so that the facility names are the ones from your spreadsheet.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is many of you were independent and are now part of a system, or you have modified your hospital name. We have updated all those names so they're currently should be reflective on what you're currently calling yourselves. So like Akron General Medical Center is now Cleveland Clinic Akron General Medical Center, and so forth. So we tried to be reflective of how you are currently being called, and those we'll try to keep them updated as much as possible, but at least this way there'll be some consistency. So thank you for bringing that up, Ken.
Thank you.
Again, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
With that, we'll conclude the meeting. Thank you.